Join us today on a great level up with two dear friends of mine who started a wine business kind of by accident almost. We're going to learn a little bit about that. And as we have our little tasting about to begin, let's introduce our lovely guests, Hallie and Didier. Thanks for joining.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We're happy to be here.
So before we get started with wine tasting, I kind of wanted to just talk about your story. And for us, we've had this conversation 1,000 times. We've been friends since 1997, officially for college, UCSB. But we were also born and raised in the Valley and went to a lot of parties together and have the same group of friends. So we're pretty sure we've been friends like forever, lifelong. But for now, it's college and
OG
forward.
Valley Girls.
OG Valley Girls. I like that.
I'm glad I wasn't there.
No. It was fun. It was
Welcome to the Valley. Didier.
And then, so then fast forward to family of two, moved to Colorado. Before that, met Didier, had all this stuff. I want to hear about those times.
Okay. Well, when I met Didier, I was actually working in the fashion industry. I was a marketing director for a clothing brand, and we were about to sell the company, and I needed to get out of LA. I was burned out. I had met Didier about 4 or 5 months prior, and he suggested that I come to Colorado. And when I met him, he had told me he was starting an import business to import wines from Morocco.
Wine, yeah, it was something else maybe. No, just joking, just wine. It's a project that started back in 2004, but I didn't have anything back then, so I needed to start from scratch with even no knowledge of what to do really as a wine importer and where to start. So that took quite some time, but 2004 was the year it started.
Did somebody introduce that to you, or did you just kind of have a love for it and you're thinking, okay, you know what, I got an idea, I'm going to run with this?
It's exactly that. Basically, I was working in the restaurant industry in Aspen, Colorado, which is pretty known as a foodie kind of food and wine scene, and worked for a chef that was extremely talented that did all molecular gastronomy. So from a very famous restaurant in Spain with a Moroccan twist, because he lived in Morocco for a minute. I was knowledgeable about certain Moroccan wines from my time in France, and I asked them why you don't have Moroccan wine representation for you that love so much Morocco on your menu. And he was like, nobody ever brought any to the US. And I was like, okay, that's going to be my thing. And that's just started like that.
Entrepreneurial spirit, this one.
Okay, and then you're like, okay, let's go. We're going to do this together, take a leap of faith, and we got this.
Well, when I had met him, the order was already on its way, and it was taking some time because to work with Morocco, it definitely was a labor of love and patience.
You need patience.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, and they were not used to exporting to the U.S. They were working on their own time, and things were moving slowly. So Didier was getting impatient, and we were preparing to receive the wines when we lived in Colorado.
I actually asked Hallie when we met, I'm like, are you ready for the ride? For the up and downs, because the roller coaster, I'm going to really do that.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and I had no idea.
Yeah,
so it's all started from no idea.
You mentioned earlier when you got here that one of your first clients is actually just around the corner.
Here in Los Angeles,
yeah.
Yes. Providence was one of the first restaurants that picked up one of our Moroccan wines.
And so that was, you got that through cold calling, you said, and just pounding the pavement, calling on Yelp, you just, whatever you knew and went from there.
I mean, that's what was available to us then. We had no connections here in LA. I had never worked in the restaurant industry.
Just thinking about it makes me want to drink. Sorry.
I know. It was
No, it's hard. It's hard. Business
stressful.
Development. Yeah.
It was stressful, but it was also energizing because we started to receive some nice comments from some of those wine directors
Good
or
feedback.
buyers that they were liking the wines and they were excited to know more. And we really became storytellers about Morocco. People wanted to know more about Morocco and their winemaking history, as opposed to the technicalities of the wine, which we did speak about as well, because everything that's done there is a very old school way of making wine. It's very organic.
I like that. I think I read on your website something about, I don't have the quote memorized.
Not yet. You will.
Not yet. I don't have it, but it's about basically not leaving such a crazy carbon footprint, and how you can have the land undisturbed and still have the soil be good, have the grapes be good, and still be organic and
it's
sustainable.
basically going back to basics. Less talking on a larger scale level, more on a macroscopic level, where an artisanal producer makes his wines from A to Z, from the growing of the grapes, the planting of the vine, growing of the grapes, making of the wine, to the selling of the wine. And when you just go to a more human level, you go back to basics and to take care of each other, take care of the land, and that's exactly what it is about at the end of the day. So leaving for the future generation a better place, and if they can do that while drinking better wines, I'm all for it, for sure.
Taking care of their environment and really leaving the nature untouched. And that's pretty much how they were growing grapes there as well. So we started to become fascinated with that.
And cold crazy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were cold crazy. It wasn't an easy ride. Although everybody was interested because they never had the availability to get introduced to Moroccan wines. They still they were curious about it, but most of them told us like, you have no chance in a way, because they were like, who cares if Morocco makes wine?
No chance?
Nobody had the chance to actually try wines from Morocco. And I think that at the time, we were also coming with something so new and fresh. There were a lot of people that were not ready for a region such as Morocco, which is in North Africa, not that far from Spain and France, where they're producing tons of popular wines that are available everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they were questioning whether it was legitimate even.
Or even needed, because it's a very competitive market. And so that's how we found ourselves as more storytellers also, and introducing Morocco as a country. And the beauty of Morocco, whether it's from wine or other things, or politically, or
food, spices, decor. I mean, people were
socially,
ultimately curious.
All those things.
Yeah.
We
I
started
think
to talk.
environmental.
I think that's how this whole level up started. It was like, I want to hear people's story. I want to share people's story. So when you say storyteller, that's perfect. When did you guys know that, okay, you know what, we made it? Like, we're hustling, we're grinding. I know.
I'm rolling my eyes as you say
It's a
that.
journey. It's a journey. It's a
Yes.
journey. But
Definitely.
there's like certain times, like, you have this timeline of going up, going down, successes, hardships, maybe not failures, but a learning curve. We can call it that. But there are times where you can just sit back and you can sip on a bottle of wine or water or however you're going to celebrate, and just be like, wow, like, we did it. Like, stellar day, stellar client, stellar something, like whatever your goal is, not your like all end something, but when you're like, oh yeah.
I think
We almost say
feel
it on
like
a daily basis even now.
We feel like
because,
that. I think every time we get to that next level or step where we feel like we have accomplished something and the goal has been made, and that's really been a very long labor of love for us, because it
was a two-people
it's been-
operation for the longest time.
It has been trial and error.
Yeah.
We did make a lot of mistakes because we started from scratch and we didn't really know a lot about how the industry worked. I think
We didn't know anyone here.
No, that was the beginning. So we've
0 people.
I love this.
we needed to make connections, and I think Didier is definitely a personable guy. He's really good at building
For today.
Thank you. Yeah,
For
yeah,
today,
I
for
put my
today,
best.
for today.
He's good at building relationships, and he's easy to talk to. And I think that's on my side. I actually love doing that too. I love the idea of PR and marketing, and I love talking to people and getting to know them and introducing them to something. Little did I know that would be a good skill for sales as well.
Gift of the
because
gab.
if somebody asked me, do you want to do sales years ago, I
Oh,
would have
terrible.
said,
No, that's like a bad word.
That's not what I want to do.
No. Cold calling? No.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Well, and
But
wine
this was
engages
something-
conversation.
Right, and we were really
And you
passionate
believe in
about it.
Yeah.
That was important. We were really passionate about what we were doing, and we didn't want to give up.
We
And
became
I think
ambassador for Morocco, basically.
we did for Moroccan wine,
Yeah.
and we still are. And it's amazing. It's amazing how I think we've morphed as a company and how we've grown, and now we have two little
Employees.
people.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we also
no,
have
speaking of
employees.
growth,
I mean, not just to go back
Yeah.
to your question, like I think the realization really has come for me, at least. As a business, I thought we were doing good a few years back now, but really it's more in the recent couple of years because we have grown and morphed into a company rather than a two-people business, and hired people, and people stay with us. And there is this realization now that we are taking care of people. We got to take care of our own people that are working
as a
with
whole
us,
team.
and growing and hiring people.
We've added to our
and providing that to
Yeah.
people, for me, is like a huge actually achievement, because there were times where we didn't know if we will be able even to hire people, because it wasn't easy. It's always a difficult task, and it's challenging. And so I think it's when we started to hire people and have a team with us that we really felt like, I think we did it. Not that it's a given or a win every time.
Right. As you guys are talking about growth and expansion, you guys have something in New York. Is that I don't really know anything about that. I literally was like, New York. Okay.
So
How old is New York?
New York is exactly a year old as of today,
Okay.
basically.
1 year old.
So we started our own company back for the Moroccan wine, although it was thinking about doing it in 2004, but the first real container of Moroccan wine came in 2009, which was, if you remember, a pretty...
Does that equal 5 years of patience?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Ooh.
And it was the financial
It was
crash
financial,
here in this country,
logistic,
and
but then there was the financial crash in the country.
Yeah.
So when we started, it was not the best time to start.
it was very risky.
And
I'm sure your family was very happy.
it was a lot of unknown.
I had about 4 different jobs at the time, so
Yeah.
So
And
we
so
started
did
at that
he.
time, and then we made it through. And I think that one of the reasons we made it through and became what we became now, it's because we started at a time where there was zero expectation, low level of expectation, and so we just grew with the rebound of the economy. In retrospective,
You grew
People were
organically with your
yeah.
organic wine.
people were
With the
looking
rebound.
for freshness. They were, I think, just like if you think about what happened in the last year and a half for us here with COVID, and what happened with a lot of the lockdowns and people being at home, people were looking for freshness, something new to excite them. So we were kind of in that same position where when we were introducing wines from Morocco, we actually had a moment where people were excited about something new and different at the same time as finding people that were not ready for it yet. So,
and since we love challenges, we saw COVID, although as a challenge, but also as an opportunity. And so...
A lot of silver linings.
Yes. And so basically, it's been something that we always wanted to do, to have our own distribution in New York, and the same way we started here, and with the same producer. But COVID kind of gave us that challenge, but also that opportunity, where we were like low expectations. I know that situation again.
Coming here to conquer whatever you can.
Let's just do
Yeah.
it and wait. So, my expectation will be lower because business is lower, everything is lower. But then, we will be part, hopefully, of the rebound. So it was the same kind of attitude, just with a little more knowledge and experience in that business rather than in 2008 and 2009.
we were coming in at a little bit more of a quiet time. But I want to rewind a little bit because we don't just have Moroccan wines anymore.
Oh, yeah.
There was a period of time after, quite a few years after we were distributing the wines from Morocco, that we had a lot of buyers asking us, well, what else do you have? And we were so excited and passionate about representing wines from Morocco that we started to also add some new producers to our book. So we went through some trial and errors with some different producers that worked with Nomadic and some that didn't last. But we started to focus on wines from producers that were doing stuff in a more sustainable way. So producing wines organically, growing grapes organically, sustainably, and using
with no additives.
I love
using
that.
biodynamic farming, regenerative farming, and working with small producers who were very dedicated to
their craft.
Yeah, to their craft and naturally making wine.
It's just the fact that people, I mean, we don't realize until you start to dive into it, but the same way people are respectful or now mindful of their food and where it's coming from and who farmed it and what was added to it or not done to it. Well, the same thing happens in the wine industry.
Yes.
They're more conscious.
And it took a long time for people to get a little more conscious about their drinking habits. And for sure in recent years, people have been a lot more conscious about it. And that happens to be at the time where we did what we did.
Yeah,
basically.
I think we are definitely here. In the past, definitely it would be like organic wine. No.
Yep.
Like, ugh,
That
gross.
that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's just
we
like...
didn't even know what that meant.
But that's also like,
was the
oh my
problem.
gosh, you're a vegan. You just eat boiled vegetables all day long. Like, no, you don't eat. I mean, there's like so many different ways to do things. So I know I've learned a lot. I know never to say what I like or don't like because you just never know. I thought that I really didn't like Chardonnay, but after being with you for these last few years, and you're like, oh, guess what?
Well,
you like that one?
The wine-off world is really vast and big. And so we need to be open-minded about wine in the way, because there are so many ways to do things. Mm-hmm. It's like a chef that can cook something that you don't like and you're going to eat it just because he cooked it the perfect way for you. Mm. So wine is about the same thing. It's just be open-minded, at least try. What's going to happen? You're not going to like it. You can spit it or not, and just, move on to the next thing. Just be open-minded. And that's kind of what we reminded people with the Moroccan wine at first. Just be open-minded. You don't have even to buy it. Just try it. Let's engage the conversation. And that's why wine is amazing, because it helps to engage into conversation for people, whether it can be about health, whether it can be about, hopefully when you're not too drunk, but about religion and politics and things like that.
Ooh, no. No, thanks.
But that's what it does.
Staying away from that.
It helps conversation.
Yeah, it's an art form, and a lot of these winemakers are artists in that respect. And I think that, when you walk into a gallery or a museum and you're viewing a piece of artwork, it may grab you or it may not. And a glass of wine is the same. It may grab you and it may not, and that's okay. Everybody has a different palate and a different way of tasting and receiving in those senses. So I think it's an interesting thing to talk about winemakers in that way. Now, the winemakers that we currently work with, all of them now, they're all making wine in respect for nature and not using additives.
That's the very important part. I would
so
like
much
to kind of
better.
underline. I mean, like the additive part, we are not really aware of it as consumers, because there is a lobby that forbids to have ingredients on the back label of wines, because there are 75 ingredients that are accepted in winemaking by the FDA. Those
And
75
there's no
ingredients,
nutrition labels.
people think that wine is just grape juice fermented and that's it, and it's vegan. Actually, not all wines are vegan. It's thing that we don't realize because of that industrial revolution, basically, and we just wanted to make bigger, larger production, cheaper wine prices and things like that. But it kind of took the human aspect of it, and it was the human aspect and the artistic aspect of the human being was replaced with additives. And so in that regards, it's really important for people to know that a lot of the wine that they consume, if they don't know where they're coming from, are wines that have a lot of things added to them.
Commercially made. The
Commercially
same way
made.
a lot of food is made.
Processed food, basically.
Oh, so
it
like,
becomes processed wine.
I'm drinking processed wine.
She put it in that with these words.
Okay.
You know.
We'll be doing some orders later, guys. Don't worry. You can order online.
but it's true because I come across to a lot of people that say, "Oh, I can't drink wine anymore. It gets me a reaction, red, this, that."
Like the sulfates or whatever they come up with.
Actually, sulfates is the last enemy in the long list of enemy of ingredients.
Okay.
Sulfates is actually a good thing.
Sulfites.
It's a natural byproduct of fermentation, sulfites. It's everywhere around us in the air also. So if people didn't like sulfites, couldn't stand sulfites, they wouldn't even be able to walk free and just breathe and talk to everybody.
Oh, that's so funny.
So
many people's names are going through my head right now of what they think is wrong or whatever the doctors said because maybe they couldn't figure it out. But when you put it in those terms,
there's a simple answer to that. It's the only ingredient listed in the back label. So everybody is focusing on the one ingredient that is listed on the wine label that says contains sulfite. But it's not. Sulfite, it's like a Band-Aid. It just helps you to preserve the wines through transportation, for aging purpose, and it's naturally in the process of winemaking. What is not natural is all of the other things added, which can be enzyme, protein, fish bladder, egg whites.
Okay. I want to enjoy my organic tasting. I don't want.
No, you can enjoy it.
Yeah,
you know what it's not in it.
Yeah.
But people don't have reactions to those things. It's just I think there's a lack of knowledge that is being blocked by big groups and big lobbies, basically.
Yeah, media, all that kind of stuff. So what about, before we do our tasting here, what about the future? What does the future hold for you guys? What are, a new project you're working on or something that...
Well, we're about to do a portfolio tasting in New York this next week, which is a big deal for us because it's the first time, Didier is flying out there to go meet with buyers. We have our representative out there who is going to be alongside him and another importer that we get some amazing Eastern European wines from as well. So we're going to be doing an introduction on the East Coast, a proper one, which is a first for us after 1 year of selling wine there. And we are excited about expanding our team a little bit more.
We've got
an amazing team now. Our Nomadic team is solid.
How many people do you have now?
6. So we are small, but we
small.
started from a 1-2 people operation, basically. So, just that little growth for us is really we are mindful of it. And we are thankful, humble, grateful.
We're going to need to get you some warehouse space for all the wines that you're going to be selling.
We have a lot of wine. So because there has been a big logistic issue around the world right now with COVID, so we had a lot of problems keeping inventory, and so now we just received a lot of wines.
Everything's kind of coming in at once.
So we should be going to their house, their get-togethers, their events. Maybe they have enough for New York.
Go to our accounts. We really are excited about the accounts that we have here in Los Angeles, but in California and New York. And
do you put some of that on your social media,
we do,
where it's sold? And
we do.
We also sell direct to consumers, which is one of the projects that we did during COVID, where we started to sell directly to consumers, which is something that we never had the time to do. And now we've been doing it, and
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, and that was really a kind of an amazing project with New York to take on.
Yeah, we had to pivot at the end of March last year, and try to figure out what we were going to do as restaurants were all shutting down.
Yeah,
I know.
People were not leaving.
Yeah,
people were not leaving their house.
Get it started.
We decided to take everything online and do front door delivery service, contactless service.
Yeah.
We were all doing it. Didier and I were driving with the kids to go and deliver wine.
Our salespeople were doing it. Everybody.
We were
that
out
sales
there.
work?
Well, just basically when COVID happened, which I had a hired the day where the restaurant shut down in California. Instead of freaking out about it, I decided to let's take a moment. Let's just see what's going to happen, and not run to conclusions. And we were like, we are basically, because of all the restaurants, I didn't know the retail stores were going to stay open back then. I was like, you guys, nobody knew what was going to happen.
So many more questions than answers.
I just received a lot of wine, and I freaked out, basically, literally. But with some reason.
But you had patience.
Yeah, I had patience, and I was like, well, if nobody can sell our wine because we can't sell them to anybody because everybody is closed, let's just sell them directly to consumers because we had that license. I'm like, I need to still sell them because otherwise we are going down. Mm-hmm. And so we kept all of our staff on payroll and just asked them to help us to add everything to the website, to design the website, to create the content
Group
and
effort.
everything.
Yeah, everyone pulled
and
through.
We spent 2 weeks like that.
Photographing all the wines.
And it helped us to keep our sanity in some ways because we are just focused on what we were doing.
Giving value. We had that too with, who was going to the office in the middle of all this?
Yeah.
Nobody.
And so that really helped us. And then I turned the salespeople into drivers, delivery drivers, because there was no traffic. So you could go around LA County
many
in
hats.
30 minutes.
No, we wore many hats.
And so that was how we managed that and kind of gave us some sanity for sure.
Oh, another thing that we did, which was kind of fun too, is in the beginning, we ordered a whole bunch of small little glass vial bottles. And we were trying to figure out a way, if we can't reach our buyers and we can't go in and do personal tastings with them, with our new wines that are coming in, how are we going to get to them? So we bottled in small little, what are the 2 ounce? Lab bottles.
Glass bottles.
Tasters of all the wines that we wanted buyers to taste. And we were putting them in bags and having our reps and we were going and delivering them.
I'm like, oh my gosh, how many more steps is Hallie going to talk about? Like, what the heck?
It was a lot. But again, we had to reach them. We did not want to stop. And we were just trying to be as creative as possible. And it worked. It worked.
Again, with challenges, I think come opportunities. And then we thought about this to actually give to people for them to taste towards their next purchase.
Yeah, you need
with the
something.
Home deliveries, we were giving people tastes. We were using those bottles and giving people a taste of something different that they didn't purchase.
I know.
Imagine you get a delivery with a taste of a one
what?
that you
Which
might
gift?
like.
What's going on?
It's
Friends,
like
come over.
It's like the suggested product on, let's say, one of those websites, but we do it with wine.
We had a little QR code sticker. You could snap a photo, and it would take you directly to that wine online, and you could purchase it if you liked it.
Perfect. Make it easy.
Yeah.
What is this that you just poured? Talk to me about this.
So talking about wines with no additives and things like that, we obviously have to look also at countries or regions that have been making wine for thousands and thousands of years without the modern level of things you can do to wine. And so one of those countries is Georgia, which is basically the birthplace of winemaking, really.
Not like Georgia peaches?
Not like Georgia peaches.
Just checking.
No. The country of Georgia, not the state, which they are notoriously famous for basically being the beginning of really the winemaking. And they had techniques there that have now become trendy, but weren't trendy for the longest time, which is making wine in those massive amphoras that are underground. You put it in there, you just don't touch it.
It's huge clay
and it becomes
vats.
Wine. And you pray, you seal it, you pray, you light the candles that it's going to turn out to be good. And so that's kind of what
that's as low intervention as you
can
get.
Be.
Risky
Business. Risky business.
It's a science project.
But again, it comes down that if you start from a very pure raw material, meaning the grapes that didn't get any pesticides, synthetic products, back then you didn't have all these things.
Yeah,
so
wasn't
wine
in the
wasn't
soil.
spoiled the same way in the winemaking process. If you have pure ingredients, and that goes to anything, if you have pure ingredients, you don't have much work to do at the end. The ingredients speak for themselves. So this
you know how to control the temperature too, and that's what's actually really interesting too about those clay amphoras is they can be temperature controlled as well.
So this is a wine coming
get too hot.
from Georgia. This is a white wine, but if you can look at it, it has a little color and coloration. This is kind of this is a white wine described as orange wine.
I don't even like white wine, and this is delish.
So the reason why people that don't like wine will like this kind of wine, it's because it's a wine made like a red wine. meaning...
Yeah. Tell me this again. You told me once. I need it like another 5 times.
He explains it really well.
Okay. So if you take any grapes, whether they are white, red, yellow, whatever color you can find, pink, and you press and you squeeze that berry, the juice that's going to come out of it, it's going to be just clear.
Yeah.
Because the pulp is clear. What makes a red wine is the maceration with its skin, transferring the pigments from the skin of the grapes to the juice that you are basically fermenting. So when you do that, you transfer that. So that's how you make a red wine. The way to make a rosé wine or a rosé is taking grapes that are for red wines and just a tiny time on the skin, so you get some of that coloration, but not enough to call it a red wine. Well, if you do that to a white wine and to white grapes, the skin of the white grapes is not just pure green. Not all grapes are like that. They also become a little more reddish, a little more colored as they matured. And so when you take the skin of the white wine and let the white wine sit on the skin, rather than take the skin away to make it just clear, transparent, that wine is going to become what we call orange, meaning it's going to be in between rosé red. And that's how you get what we call orange wine, which is the technical right way of saying it would be skin macerated white wine.
Skin macerated contact. Skin
contact wine.
Because how you make a red wine is by macerating the skin.
So white wine does not have skin contact.
So your typical Sauvignon Blanc, typical Chardonnay that is just clear, transparent, you remove the skins right away. And that's why you don't have color on your wine. If you leave the skin, even for a few hours sometimes, you're going to get a slight coloration. Like, for example, if you can grab this wine there. Yeah, this is Sauvignon Blanc. Have you seen a Sauvignon Blanc like that before?
No.
So this is what Sauvignon Blanc with macerated skin can do. It becomes that kind of like yellow, dark yellow, orange color.
There's so many things I haven't thought about besides how exciting I get.
You should see us more.
To drink, but now like I'm thinking about it, like I'm so label conscious. I'm always reading something going, oh, it has something in there. So now I'm just thinking like,
But it's like even
75 ingredients.
Yeah, you don't know that.
And I don't know anything.
And who's
your poppy? Who's your poppy?
You would like that. I really would like that.
That's a good line. That's a good one. See?
And this is
I'm learning.
This is a winery from California that is close to Santa Barbara in Los Olivos.
Coquelicot, which means poppy in French.
And they are basically. They had different styles of wines, and they are just growing also with what people want. And it's great to see people able to change and be open-minded. Again, it's all about being open-minded about wine. If you think you know and you always go to the same thing, the world of wine is so vast. Just in Italy, there are about 1,000 varietals of grapes. It's just almost, for me, sad sometimes when people would only go to the same wine that they want to go to and they know.
Yeah. Well,
I think comfort zone.
Yeah, I think
it's
also
because they haven't been taken out of that comfort zone.
But also, if I'm somewhere and we have these 3 wines, and I know, okay, you know what? Who's your poppy? Like that's the one. I'm not even gonna look at these because I'm thinking to myself, well, what if I don't like that? Or
what's gonna vibe more with you?
Do I want the whole bottle of that? Or what am I drinking? Oh, I've had this before. I like it. So it's like knowing what you're doing, where if I have you, then I know, okay, you know what? I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to relax. I'm going to drink. I'm going to listen, and I'm going to figure this out. And whatever I came to the table with, I'm not leaving that way.
I'd make myself more available.
What you just said, but what you just did, it shows that we're a different generation than our parents' generation or our grandparents' generation, where we are very label conscious. We walk up to the aisles and we look at the artwork on the bottle and we approach a bottle that vibes more with who we are.
100%.
Whether 100%. It's the font, whether it's the graphic.
Label design. Label design are very, very important.
Yeah, the word organic is like, I mean, that's...
It used to be a no-no.
That's a hot topic right now.
But I mean, if you are organic, you have to be certified organic now here in
Which
California.
there was at the beginning.
Is that like worldly or
So
is that?
no, actually, like
different in
it
different
differs
places.
like from country to country. To be organic in the US, I think is a very narrow-minded definition rather than the European one, and that's not because I'm from Europe, but
Of
it's
course
just,
not.
Here, being organic in wine means
partial.
that you don't have a certain amount of sulfites, so it's all based on
Okay.
the sulfites rather than on the ingredients.
Okay.
Because you can be organic. Sorry, I left your wine a little too.
No.
Also how the grapes are grown as
Oh,
well.
okay.
Yeah,
Wait a
organic
minute.
is more about the growing of the grapes.
I like
The
that one
farming
too.
technique.
I'm going to take you to Slovakia now.
Okay.
So we were just in.
So now we're kind of traveling, which is also
Yeah.
one of my favorite things to do in this world. So Slovakia,
That's
okay.
the beauty
Slovakia.
of Nomadic. We
This
can
is
take
an-
you around the world.
This
Oh,
is
yeah, I
another
wanted
skin
to-
contact wine, by the way, but you see the difference in color. It almost looks like a red. This is a white wine.
And this was
This is white wine. I know it's gonna.
because they were able to
Leave the skins.
for a long
time. So the longer you leave the skin, the darker the color is gonna get.
Okay, so now here's a really funny question for you, okay?
Yeah.
So you only want the skin in for a certain amount of time because of how we're aging and doing and processing. I don't know all the crazy
Yeah.
terminology. How do you get all the skin out?
You just remove them.
Yeah, they strain it.
So when you make wine,
They strain it. Like
the
a strainer.
solids of the wines are always gonna go at the bottom of the tank. It's just gravity.
So they press everything.
So they
and then
just-
the juice just dribbles out.
You just get the wine from the top layer and you leave the bottom layer, basically.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Sandwich.
Sandwich. Don't eat your sandwich, drink it. Oh, that's a good one. Cheers.
Cheers.
You know, I think maybe for a Hanukkah gift, I think I'm gonna like write all your quotes and like bind a book and like put like a picture of like our wines or something, and we'll kind of go
My
from there.
favorite today is the fox.
You know, something funny about that, not to poke fun at your accent, but where we came from, our like maiden name was Fox, Faux, and when my grandpa came over on the boat, they're like, what the heck is that? They're like, Fox, Fox, here's your name and here you are. So when you say Fox, that was kind of funny. When you said Fox, I'm like, oh, hey.
Changing.
Yeah,
your
it
name.
kind of resonates. Okay, so tell me more about this.
This is Pinot Gris. So Pinot Gris is a white grape. It's called gris, which means gray, because the skin color of that grape becomes grayish, reddish. So that's why it's called also Pinot Gris. This is left on the skin for 30 days. So 30 days of skin contact as
And
a
then
white wine.
what are the
And
days
then
total?
And then you press
No, it's
all of
like
that.
1 month, 30 days. Oh, but yes, it's just that's how long it's.
You
gonna
let the
be
wine
in the vat.
ferment, macerate with the skin, everything in one tank.
In the tanks.
That's why
or
we
in
like the word
concrete.
macerated for white wines that have that orange
Okay.
color. You let them for 1 month, then you press everything because the grapes, the berries are like letting some juice out, but you need to press. And that's going to give you that color, basically. And
I
that's
don't
it.
know if this is my favorite. I have to like.
It's more, so again, this is not a white wine to just like sip and have like, you know.
What do you
and
eat
just
this
sit around.
with?
This is a food wine, basically.
Food wine, like meat, fish.
Yeah, anything like oily, like more fat.
Yeah,
it can
even
cut
like
through the fat.
charcuterie, things that have a little
Even
bit more
red meat.
grease and fat.
Like
Okay.
like some, I don't know, I would say pasta with cream sauce and chicken or things like
Are
that.
we having a chef on here after? We're gonna go from like
Good,
wine
there's the
to
kitchen.
Hey Mark, would you mind throwing something on the grill?
put another shrimp on the barbie.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm just going to read what it says on the back label here because, again, this is a producer that wants to be transparent. And I think that's really important to talk about because there are a lot of winemakers today that really are striving to be more transparent. So this winemaker is saying that this is all organically farmed, hand harvested. They use wild yeast, fermented, 30 days, skin contact, low intervention, authentic wine, unfiltered.
Ooh, I like
The
that.
word
So-
authentic is very important.
It's really
Wait,
important.
But when she read, what did you like?
Wild yeast.
Wild yeast, and you
So
said
yeast
very
is a
important.
component of fermentation. Yeast
It's
is
not
basically
commercial
present
yeast.
on the skin of the grape. yeast is in every product and fruit or anything like that. The industrialized wine, we add yeast to make wine. And wines that are basically made in labs with even flavors, you can choose that yeast with the flavor you want to have the flavor you want in your final wine. So you more make a wine as a recipe rather than naturally let it happen and be authentic. When you work with wild yeast, that means that you work with just the yeast that is present on the grape. And you often hear the word terroir in wine talk, which means like the environment of winemaking and of the place where you are. The yeast is the most important thing in winemaking because that's what's going to create the fermentation. That's what's going to change grape to fermented basically into wine, to fermented juice and wine. And those wild yeast that are present on the grape, if you don't use them, then you lost basically the sense of that place, of that grape. And the yeast, the wild yeast is for me the glue in winemaking.
It adds the character to it.
So, a sidebar, but this whole White Claw phenomenon and Truly and whatever else, these Coronas and these like seltzers, I'm still trying to figure out like what is the alcohol in there?
They use hard alcohol in those.
So is it just like sugar alcohol? It's like fermented sugar?
In which one?
In hard seltzers.
So that's, I mean, mostly either way.
That's just trash. It's just
sugar
crap.
or residual sugar. But I mean, those things are not natural.
Hard alcohol and
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just not natural. So in wine, you have sugar naturally from the process of turning from fruit.
Breaking it down.
And you need that sugar to become alcohol.
Right.
So one of the added products that is approved by the FDA is sugar. That you can just add sugar to your wine to make it taste better if your wine basically doesn't taste good. And a lot of people think that they taste and they drink dry red wine, but their wines, if you go into a conventional wine, has most likely 2 grams sugar per liter or more, 3, 4.
I feel a Napa trip coming on soon.
Yeah.
I feel like very knowledgeable and like I just want to like walk into these wine tastings and be like,
how much sugar do you have in there?
We did that before years ago, Lindy. We could do it again now that
I was with you.
Know a lot more.
I was with you.
Yeah.
Wait, how long ago? Oh, that's
That
another
was
one.
9
Are we going to
years
age
ago?
ourselves again?
9 years.
No. That was a fun trip.
It was.
I broke my shoe one night.
I didn't know that part. You see, 9 years later, things are
Yeah,
coming out.
that was
out.
Bachelorette at
was a
Napa.
beautiful
Are we sure we want to talk
great
about this
wine.
even now?
I can remember very little.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what's next?
So next we could do, do you want to do a rosé or a red wine? I feel like a red wine. So this is a producer that we really, really love. He's basically family. He's one of our first producer that we started to work with after the Moroccan wine. A small producer that does about 25,000 bottles a year. So you will be like, this is really small. Well, yeah, I mean, and that's again goes back
quality though.
But that goes back to like a more human level, and having basically. So I'm just going to tell you the name of the wine. It says Soif de Plaisir, and Soif de Plaisir, when you translate it, means thirst of pleasure. I know you would like that.
Do I feel another quote coming? Is there another line?
No, it's already on the label. You don't need a quote on that one. So this is this producer in south of France.
Not as graceful as you.
It's very humbling also to go see them, this type of producers.
We were just there. We just visited
because
them
they
about
don't
a month and
have
half
a
ago.
big house. They don't have a beautiful tasting room. They literally live where they make wine.
In
the
a
garage.
beautiful village.
It's kind of like Level Up, right?
Yeah,
We're
the
just like,
garage is their winemaking facility, and they just
live
live
upstairs.
above the garage.
And their vineyards are just a quick drive away.
And they take
That's
care of
kind
their
of-
vineyards every day. They go there. They don't hire people to do the work.
because
And-
they know, they can see, they can sense, they see warning signs.
Well,
That's
it's one
that's
of
their
the difference.
babies.
It's a
Just like you said, labor of
hands-on
love.
approach.
And it's one of the difference also with the US, the way we make wine here. Here you have ranchers that hire people to go work the vineyards and things like that. Not
Right.
necessarily people on a microscopic level just go and work in their own vineyard. So that's why the price
It
of wine is
smells
more
really
expensive.
yummy.
So once you get into those wines, it's really hard to go back to other wines because they just are lively and they taste real. They just taste like my grandfather made a wine basically. Or someone.
Wait, does he make wine?
No, but
okay,
he could have
checking.
been. I wish he would have.
Just checking.
But it's kind of like a more like, I did a wine for my own family and that's what came out.
And can you tell me again the reason why we don't put ice cubes in our wine?
Oh, you should. You can. I don't care, personally.
You can to chill it, yeah. But
You-
I mean,
But generally speaking,
So because people actually serve wine.
It'll dilute the wine.
Well,
that's
dilute
it.
the
It's not
character.
about like too cold or
But let's
temperature or
just go
preference.
to the reason why people are putting ice cubes in their wines because their wines are usually served too warm. You don't want to serve a wine at a warm temperature because you can make it cooler unless you add ice cubes. So the way to fix that would be to serve your red wines at a cold temperature because
would
it
you
can
say, like-
only always warm up in your glass.
Like a
It will always
55
warm up.
degree.
Yeah, 55 degrees because it's really tastier
Better
first.
check my wine fridge.
Yeah.
55 degrees is good.
It's
for
really
reds.
important, I think, to serve wines because they taste better also when at lower temperature. They're not as heavy and you don't need to drink more like water for it. So this is a red wine. So
Can you tell
we
a little
didn't
story?
remove the grapes, the skins here. We let the skins
Oh,
in
for
to make
sure.
it
Look how
red.
dark it is. 100% skins are in.
We are in the south of France, on
South
the
of France.
border with Spain. So on the
Did
Catalan
we fly
side.
like on a private jet from
We can.
our
Yeah,
last
it
country?
wasn't the nomadic jet though.
No.
Where did we go from? Slovakia.
Goals.
Slovakia
Slovakia
to
to
Maury.
no,
South
south
of
of
France.
France.
Okay.
Maury. We are
Maury.
about 2 hours away from Barcelona, north of Barcelona, on the mountain side
I'm
of south
tasting
of
some
France.
cheese on its way or something. It's coming.
Mark, we are waiting for it again. So we are in south of France, higher altitude, and in an area where wines can be a little flabby and with high alcohol content.
I don't even know
Flabby
what flabby
means basically the lack of acidity for us. Acidity in wine is a very important
it's flat.
component. Yeah. You need acidity to have your wine be lively and be able to stand against food. With no acidity, your wine just tastes flat. And so it's very difficult to do that in that region because it gets really, really hot. So you have to pick your grapes earlier to make sure that they retain a natural level of acidity, to not get too technical. And basically by doing so, you assure that your wine is going to be fresh, lively, juicy, just the way that wine is. So that's Syrah, Carignan, 2 grapes, 50-50. That's it.
You got that, guys? Got that, everyone?
I hope so.
Can you tell a little story about Mark and Caroline?
Mark and Caroline. Mark is someone from another part of south of
Sweet
France. They're a lovely couple, full of energy, a big character. They are really, really lovely people. And he was basically on a search in the early 2000s for really old vines, because for him, that's what he wanted to work with, because old vines are going to have a lot more characteristic and interesting things to say and reveal, like just a person with more wisdom. And so he was looking for that, and the price of property and vineyards is through the roof.
Speaking my tune right now. I could.
So he was looking in areas, more remote areas of south of France, where the land wasn't as expensive, and he stumbled upon this area, which happens to be where I'm from, really just 20 minutes away from my hometown.
Just
in France.
happens to be. Just.
This is true.
I mean, Hallie just went there for the first
I
time.
did. I got to see where he originated from,
And so
legitimately.
lovely, lovely people, making great wines. Again, small, not trying to do and like take over the world with their wine. We're just trying to make soulful wines that are naturally made.
Such a big difference.
Yeah, and you know, thinking about what he's doing and not being dogmatic about it as well. And so when I remember, Hallie actually found those wines via social media, and then we called them to ask them if they had representation here. But I remember still tasting the first bottle they sent us a sample, and I'm like, it tastes real and authentic, to go back to that word.
It almost like when you taste something like that, there's like memories and like history, and there's a vision, as opposed to, like you said, some of the more industrial monopolies that just kind of pump it out. It's a totally different experience.
Exactly. And they really are real people making real wine. And it was beautiful for us to even be there as a family with our 2 kids and their beautiful daughter, Livia, and to get to know them as a winemaking family, because that's what they are. They really embody this work, life, love in what they do with their wines. The best and the worst. Yeah. It's really, it's an amazing thing to see that. You know, this is... you're walking into an artist studio, basically, and you're seeing what they do,
like, and acres of land. That's
how
just
they make it, where they pick their grapes. And what was amazing is we were there during a pretty hot time of the year when they were really getting ready for the harvest. And so we were walking with them through the vineyards. They were checking their vines to see when their grapes were going to be ready, making sure there was no mildew, looking at the soil on the ground to make sure it's not too dry because they hadn't gotten a lot of rain.
And you want rain at that time, so the berries can grow with more juice in them, because less rain at that time. That means, like, you know, smaller berries with
so they're not
juice.
Just looking at the vines, they're looking down at the ground,
all the conditions,
the exchange between the soil and the plant.
Whole environment.
I mean, it's really, really, really interesting.
Makes a difference in how the wine is made.
That's awesome. Do we have another, or no? Did we say 3?
I mean, like,
okay, this is our last one.
You sure?
That's
it?
Well, last one for Level Up. We'll have some, outtakes for after hours.
Well, that one is especially for you because you have something special.
I mean, listen,
with
our viewers are like probably pissed off that we're over here having a great time drinking wine and they're not yet.
They can join us. They can join us.
Yeah, they can find all these wines on our website.
Yeah, can we talk about that? What is your social media handle?
So they can find us online at We Are Nomadic.
That's for just regular, like,
that's our Instagram.
Oh, Instagram.
That's our social media.
We Are Nomadic. How come I didn't
know that?
And then
our website is nomadicdistribution.com.
Okay.
And that's where we just do have a shop.
Funny little story. Nomadic, actually, the name Nomadic, how it came, because in the wine business, a lot of people are actually putting their name as an importer, or as in the wine industry, it's a very common practice to put your name, if you're a wine importer, as the name of your company. And because we also started with wines from Morocco, and we were kind of going anti this all the rules that are being basically in the wine industry, we didn't have a focus specifically beside Morocco about like, oh, we want to import wines from France. We're like, our history has made us, and our past has made us travel around the world for different reasons, and we wanted basically to be a reflection of that. We shouldn't just think that good wine is made in France. There is good wine everywhere around the world. It's just, again, stay open-minded.
There's a lot of bad
embrace
wine
the world.
too.
Embrace the world.
We're constantly expanding. We're constantly traveling. We're constantly wanting to make
I want to go
and our customers travel through our wine.
I want to go with you guys on like one of your like crazy experiences.
That's going to be fun.
We need to plan a trip.
Are you ready
for
it? Are you ready for it? Am I ready for it?
My passport is ready.
Am I ready for it?
I have global entry. Like, I'm ready. Okay.
Clear the whole thing.
Yeah, me and Ricky, we have it all. We're ready.
Actually, just talking about the fact, conventional wines earlier, natural wine, it doesn't mean that...
Oh, this is so good, and I don't even like rosé.
It doesn't mean that wines that are made that way are always going to be better for you, or they are better wines. It's not the idea about those wines. You can make good wines and bad wines, whether it's conventionally made or whether it is naturally made.
I just really... Can we talk about the name?
Sure.
Oh, I let you do the word. I let you do it because I know you're gonna take a kick out of it.
No, I don't know. Like extreme close up.
What's the name of the winery, Lindy?
Can tell us.
Are we allowed to say it? You know, maybe it's like
it's a family name.
It's a family name.
It's their name. They are proudly saying it too.
I know.
Can I just giggle?
Yeah,
you can. We all giggle. They giggle themselves.
Because
believe me.
Fucking wines from Croatia, they're the best. And it's rosé, and I don't even like rosé, but it's such a great taste and such a
They
great
actually make T-shirts. It's only fucking wine.
Yes, I'm gonna need one of those.
It's just
and then so because this is the color, the skin of the grapes was left on for some time, maybe 30 days. I have no idea how
maybe
this.
A
few hours.
Maybe a few hours, but that's why it's not just clear and it's not super red. It was somewhere.
You left the skins there. You see.
What's that M word again?
Macerated.
Okay. We're getting places.
So cheers
this is
to good fucking wine.
To good fucking wine.
Thank you, the fucking family.
Thank you, fucking family.
This is a rosé
love
from
family.
Croatia, from an indigenous grape from Croatia called Teran. So there are some grapes that you would only find in specific places.
Regions, yeah,
this
different
is one
regions.
Of those. And Croatia, I mean, this is on our next.
It's a beautiful
place
grape.
to go.
We went to Croatia.
It's really eye-opening.
There's every single person who owns any land has a vineyard and bottles their wine. I mean, it's like no matter what, you have your like table wine. I kind of felt like I was like
the grandpa wine. That's why I was saying.
Like
basically, I have friends from this area of the world where like everybody in their family makes wine just for themselves and their friends, because they have vines in their.
It's like a speakeasy.
Yeah.
Well, and even to try to get them to export sometimes is so hard because they're just so used to selling to their local market there. They're not even thinking about the
timing is different.
exporting.
Yeah.
So it's hard too for Didier and I sometimes to contact winemakers and ask them, are you interested in exporting your wines? And some of them are on this level of, well, we just sell to our local market
and we only make
a little bit of wine. Maybe next year we're planning on producing another couple hundred more cases. And if we're lucky, we get those wines. So that's another thing. A lot of these winemakers they're so artisanal and so small that when we get their wines into the country, we only get a handful.
Yeah,
and
they go fast.
They're gone like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and they are always too like these producers. They always tell you like, well, but I don't produce enough for the U.S. Thinking like that's it. If you're gonna get imported to the U.S., you're gonna go through massive amount of wines, which we certainly hope it's true. But it's not a reason why not to import your wines.
It's not the true scale. Yeah.
I mean, this is not why we are doing it.
I appreciate that.
We are doing it for other reasons. We just think the wine is really good and people should get to know it. And so they look at it more like, but I'm too small for you. I'm like, well, we run out. It's okay. We don't need to have it all year long. And that's why we don't, because if you have a wine all year long and every year the wine tastes the same, most likely that something was made to that wine to taste like that. A Chardonnay from France shouldn't taste the same way than a Chardonnay from California. Different area, different sunshine, different rainfall, different all these things.
Yeah.
So that's why you should stay open-minded. And if you don't like a Chardonnay from France or from California, that doesn't mean that all Chardonnays are bad. You just didn't like that specific wine. That's all. There are many other wines to taste.
Stay open-minded.
Yeah. And be a nomad.
Yeah.
Just be a nomad. Yes.
Just let the world be open. Don't fear the world. Don't fear.
We got another quote. Yes.
This is a big day.
It is.
This is a big day in quotes.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad we could share these wines with you. These are honest wines made by honest producers.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time and kind of teaching us some knowledge.
We're happy to share that with you.
Yeah, some stories. So the next time I have you guys on here, we're gonna have a whole new selection of
maybe
a new theme. Maybe a new theme. Yeah.
Ooh. Gross.
Spirits from around the world.
Spirits and beer. I mean, it all goes into the whole drinking industry. Basically.
Maybe we'll just like stream it live, like wherever we go. We'll just like each place we go to.
No, but I think people should be aware also where there are places that are promoting this type of wines and this type of food, and if you see wines that you don't know from grapes you don't know, that's gonna be my my last sentence of the day. Basically, my last one of the day. Just look actually for the unknown on things on the wine list that you see, and if they are available by the glass, ask to try them. Just get out of your comfort zone.
I like that.
Or look up on your phone right away. You can look up the winery and look up their story and see if that's something that interests you.
But just try to go and explore other things, because I think that's why restaurants do by the glass. It's not for you to just have your classic Chardonnay. It's also to try to introduce you to new things. So if those new things are available, don't be scared of them. Just politely ask your waiter if you can just try that wine, a little sip.
Oh, they would totally do that. They do that all the time.
And that's a way.
And they're happy to do that.
For restaurant also
yeah,
to
you
not
appreciate it.
And that's a way for restaurant to not just cater to what people want, but to be able to be
really figure it out.
Like original in their wine program, to do new things, to experiment, and to hopefully teach something about wine to people.
Yes,
That's
please.
the ultimate goal.
All right, to many more successes, you guys.
I can cheers on an empty glass.
Oh, sorry, my glass is empty.
We'll do a splash. Thank you.
Do we need like a boomerang or something?
Who talks about a splash?
Cheers, you guys. I'm so proud of you guys. I'm proud to be your friend. I'm proud to be a part of your growth. I'm proud to share the good word. And it really like makes a difference in the world, doing business with, just like you said, different generations, like-minded people. You know, who doesn't like to gather around the table, have a glass of wine, learn about someone's story, make a difference in the community, however it is, for our children, making the world a better place.
Yeah.
And yeah, to 75 ingredients.
Not 75 ingredients.
Excuse me, that's what I meant. To not 75 ingredients.
Thank you, Lindy.
I keep knocking the mic.
All right, level up, guys.
Thank you.
Everyone, team, you guys are awesome. Thank you for listening. You guys know what to do. You can follow them at
We Are Nomadic.
We Are Nomadic.
It's the wine.
It's the wine. Yeah, it's the wine. Yeah, you guys can sample all these on your own. You can go on their website, and any of the new things that they will be promoting or places they will be, we will let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.